I've been through it. I'm going through it with you. I understand what's going through your head. And you know, athletes sometimes say, I don't want to be a role model. Like it's not their responsibility. I want to be a role model. I want to be the person that you lean on. I want to tell you I've gone through that and it's going to be okay. I got you back. But you need to participate. You need to level up your thinking. If you, again, whatever that desire is for you, whatever that goal is, make it exciting, but then ask yourself, how much of a commitment do I need to get there? You want to pay your credit card bill? Great. You could spend 10 minutes a week and make one good trade and pay your credit card bill. Let's go to the other extreme. You know, you want to manage your own 401k, or maybe you left a job and now your money is, you know, in an IRA now because they rolled it over from the 401k and now you're in charge of it and you're scared and you need to know what to do. That's a good, bigger goal. That's a life-changing goal. That's a goal that matters because now you're in charge. What kind of commitment do you need to make that goal happen? And then let's start to have conversations about that. My mission is to use my experience to make things easier for you. My mission, my goal, the whole point of all of this is we're on the same path. I'm just a little further down the road from you. I want to help you get through the stages that you're going through right now so you can get to the point where maybe you can pay it back. Maybe you can get to the point where you're like, you know what, I had that same question 3 months ago, and might not be the perfect answer, but let me tell you how I got through it. That's what our community is about. That's the whole point of why we're here. When I can tell you I've been there, I didn't read it in a book. I went through it. I'm going through it. I'm still experiencing it, but I'm seeing things differently than you probably are right now. And that's the mission for our community. Good now? All right. Oh, that's what happens when I was so busy planning, I didn't put the button on. All right, so we'll get started again. What I want to focus on today is obviously with the way that the market has been changed, right? There's really a lack of a better way of putting that. The tone of the market has changed dramatically. And I 100% know this for a fact that a lot of people got caught off guard. Some people blew their stop loss and are sitting on some bigger trades, not only because you blew your stop loss, but even more importantly, you compounded the situation and added to a bad trade. And I was actually reading Market Wizards this morning. I tend to, go back to the classics when I'm having my coffee on Saturday morning. I just constantly like to flood my mind with, getting back to what works and whatnot. What's super interesting about the book, and especially the first one, I believe the first one is probably the best one. I think you can probably find that out of most books that come out with a sequel. The first one is usually the most intense and relevant stuff that the author had to say. And then the publisher, when that big book comes out and it's good, the publisher says, oh, what else you got? But meanwhile, the first one was really everything. So one of the things that was a unique part of the first Market Wizards books, and it doesn't matter if it was talking about trading commodities or futures or stocks or options, it doesn't make a difference. The running theme was they were losing money until they minimized mistakes. And there's really no other way to put it. So I actually have some stuff here today that I'll post a big list of this when we're done, but I'm going to run through all of them because what I'm seeing right now in decision making is some very emotional trading right now. Number one, emotional by overreacting to price, and number two, over emotional by feeling like you have to trade as opposed to trading when the best decisions are available. And that's a monster difference. So one of the parts that I was reading this morning, I think it was in the Bruce Kovner interview in Market Wizards. Again, it's the first Market Wizards book. Was he basically said that when I only take trades that meet my criteria, those trades are usually big winners within the edge. And any trade that I take that does not meet the criteria that I put on anyway, almost every one of those are a wash. So some make money, some lose money. Basically saying that when I follow my rules, I make money. And this particular guy talked about turning $30,000 into 80 million. So obviously, and that's probably back in the 80s and 90s. So that's when 80 million actually was a lot of money, right? Today, everybody talks about billions today like it's nothing, right? So I wanted to get back into number one, kind of reflecting back what I'm seeing in game plan calls as well as conversations that I'm seeing in Discord. And number one is I'm seeing a lot of trading that does not follow the system. There's really no other way to put it. I had a couple of follow-up conversations with people from coaching sessions and game plans where I followed up on some of their answers, and mediocre trade ideas at best, being asked why didn't this trade make money, for lack of a better way of putting it. And I think one of the things that probably needs to be a part of everybody's process, and again, however in depth you want to do this, that's completely up to you, but you do need to walk through the power pyramid. You do need to say, what is the market doing and what does that mean? And then walk up the next step and say, okay, if the market's obvious in the direction that I want to trade, which I'm going to touch on that in a second too, because that's a really important thing. But let's just start out with the bullish side of the market, which is what most people are comfortable with, and there's nothing wrong with that. Although we are going to have some new up-to-date training on short selling, so we'll cover that probably during the week, maybe Monday or Thursday. So let's assume the market is bullish in the time frame that you're looking to trade that. Now, generally speaking, that should be on the minimum criteria. How is it trading for the last 4 weeks, which is very easy to figure out. You can go into FinViz and just say month. Month in FinViz means 4 weeks. It doesn't mean calendar month. It means the last 4 weeks. So let's just start there. Let's start there with whether or not the market is bullish within that time period and starting out at the bottom of the power pyramid. You got to get an answer to that, because that is, as we've proven over the last, millennia, not millennia, 100 years, when the market's obvious, it's infinitely easier to make money. You have much more money doing the same thing, which is what we call in our language institutional attention, right? And I think the problem that a lot of people are having right now is the answer is coming back, it's horrible, and still trading as if it was 3 or 4 months ago. Still trading as aggressively, still looking for much bigger profits, not being a lot more specific about the next level of the power pyramid, which is sector rotation. And when we walk through the game plans in the morning, and more specifically, I think it's very, very important to be taking advantage of the daily ticker, because the daily ticker comes from this research, which is built on the foundation of how many stocks and what percentage of stocks in a sector are positive or negative. And this is over a rolling 5-day period, which is momentum. And that tends to start to really stick out like a sore thumb. And look at what's going on in utilities over here, which is obviously where we have one of our open swing trade positions, right? And real estate, and how technology is getting demolished. And yet we still are seeing some people that are holding technology stocks as if it was 6 months ago. It's not 6 months ago. So I want to kind of bring back, use the resources, and everything behind the scenes is in the daily ticker. I'm starting out with the market, and then I'm breaking it down to a theme, and then I'm breaking it down into the sector, and then I'm breaking it down to the group, and then I'm breaking it down to the stock. I want to challenge you to do the same thing within the time frame that you're looking to hold an idea. So I want to refresh everybody, because I'm just going to say it straight up because I love everybody. I'm seeing some bad decisions. I'm seeing bad decisions in chasing stocks too late. I'm seeing bad decisions in trying to pick a reversal while the market's getting hammered. Start out with, is the market obvious? Yes or no? If it is, great. Then the first thing we should be doing is going to say, which sectors are doing the same thing as that bullish market right now? And stop there. Like, that's where we should be looking for ideas. But let's go back to what we've seen and kind of experienced over the last 3 weeks, which it's been a lot more red. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But again, look at utilities sticking out like a sore thumb. I'm going to ask everybody, how many utility ideas have you traded over the last couple of weeks? Even day trading, we talked about SO and Dominion and those stocks that SO actually had a trade, and so did Dominion, where the profit maximizer would have basically kept you in the trade almost the entire day while the market was getting crushed. So that's something else I want to reiterate, which I talked about the other day. And I wrote about this in a lot of detail in the Daily Ticker on Friday, which is, of course, I just said, if the market is obvious, we got to give it that emphasis, right? But the second part of that is, if the market's not obvious, that doesn't mean the market's closed. I can't express that strongly enough, which is why setting up your charts and setting up your watch lists is not a nice to have. It is a must have. It's like going out building a house and not having your hammer and your screwdriver in your box. It's a part of what we do. It is being prepared before the market even opens. It's that important, okay? So when and if the market's trading the way it is right now, we then need to start to filter the ideas down a little bit more. So let's say the market's not obvious, then we have to go up another level and say, which sectors are moving in the direction that I want? And then our attention should only be there. So for those of you holding on to technology swing trades that clearly have changed in direction and magnitude in the other direction, what did you miss? You need to be asking yourself, what did I miss? And I'm telling you right now, you probably saw it. You didn't want to admit it, which is another thing that, again, you go back to the classics and you start to pay attention. Every single big successful trader, and I'm going to put myself in that category too, because I've been doing this a long time, and you can't last this long without this number one thing. Risk management is job one. Profits come from making a bunch of good decisions and managing the downside. But if you don't manage risk, you are effed. I'm not going to curse. There's women on the call. You are screwed. If you can't admit that a trading loss is a business expense and you just get out when you're supposed to, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. I'm telling you right now, there's some emails coming over to customer support that make me want to cry, because of people saying, my ego, I held on to the trade, I made it worse, and now they're sitting in positions in a tape that has changed dramatically. So please put down on your Post-it pad and have it on your monitor on your screen. Risk management is number one, which brings me to another thing. I had this conversation, I don't know if John's on the call right now, talking about getting stopped out. You know, we have all of that information up to the moment of the trade, and then we have what happens after the trade. If you put on a trade and you're like, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and if that happens, cool, I know exactly where I'm going to add. I know exactly what my initial target is. I know exactly when I plan to shift into profit maximizer mode. Great, we map out that entire thing, right? But what if that doesn't happen? There is no rule that says, you know what? I said I'm losing $1,000 on this trade, and I'm losing $1,000 on this trade no matter what. Get that out of your head. If the conditions changed, make a different decision. Scale back. Get out of it. It doesn't make a difference. You can get back in or look for a different idea. If the conditions change, that's a thing. Not if it goes sideways and it's not flying in your direction fast enough. If the market conditions change, what does that look like? I don't know. How about this? The VIX went up 56% in one day. That's a different condition. Again, we actually posted this yesterday from here to here. At one point, actually, it was up 60%. I don't know if you can see that right there. It was up 60% at one point. So if the market conditions change, you are allowed to make a different decision. That's part one. Part two is, if the market conditions do not change and they're doing exactly what you planned, stop booking profits as soon as you're green. You will never pay for the losses if you are booking the very first profit that falls in your lap. That's not the way it works. If you are booking profits quickly that are basically the same size as your losses, you're going to be a break-even trader, and you are going to force yourself to need to be right most of the time. Who wants that pressure? I don't. I want to be right and make more when they follow through, as opposed to trying to be right all the time. I don't care if I have a 40% win-loss ratio. I don't care. I care if my account went up. That's the only thing that matters. So that's another thing. Stop worrying about whether each individual trade made money. Start focusing on whether or not it was the best idea you can find. Trade by trade is random. Even in the best system, trade by trade is random. We are not trading trade by trade. We're trading trade by trade to make good decisions and improve our skills, but we can't do anything about what happens after we put the trade on. It's a part of the edge. It's a part of the likelihood of our profit target being hit versus our stop loss. But even in the best edge, there's losses. So get over the fact that there's a losing trade. Stop obsessing about whether one trade made or lost money and start focusing on, was it a good decision and did I manage it properly? If you focus on those two decisions, which are 100% in your control, over a bunch of those good decisions, the odds of you making money are very good. So I want to say that one more time so it really hits home. Individual trades, even in the best system ever, are random results. Stop obsessing on whether or not that trade made money. You should be thinking about over time, over a large sample size of good decisions. That's where good trading comes from. And I'm going to get back to all of these because I got some props today because the mental part of trading is a monster part of trading. So just do me a favor. Type into the chat. Is this starting to make sense? Like, are we kind of like reframing this, what we're supposed to be doing here? Because the charts, while they're exciting and we kind of give all that love and attention to what's going on the charts, it really still comes down to the operating system that we have up here. It's not the system at the end of the day. The system at the end of the day is the reason we're putting trades on. But at the end of the day, are you following it? And are you following it to the letter with the right mindset? That's the important thing. Part of that mindset is taking losses and accepting them. Again, I think one of the biggest things that we do differently, and I talk about this from day one, trading losses are a business expense. They are a part of the system. That's not the problem. The problem for most people is, number one, can you take them? Yes, great. Kick the trade out. You don't like the idea anymore as much as you liked it 2 days ago? Scale back. Your job is to manage risk. And ironically, I was just talking to my wife about this morning, and she heard us talking about this at the live event that we did last October. And one of the things that I said that she thought was really powerful, which thank you, Robin, I appreciate that, was that congratulations, you hired yourself as a money manager. Are you qualified? Think about it. Look in the mirror. Ask yourself, are you qualified? What experience do you have to manage money to get mad that in the first 5 days you're trading, you're not lighting it up and you're not the greatest trader in the world? You got to learn the skill. The strategy is there for the rules to keep you in the game while you improve your ability to follow it. Job one is to learn what to look at. Job two is to pay attention. Job three is to manage the downside. Job four is to learn how and when to trade bigger and make more money. But you can't get to job four without going through the first three roles as part of being a trader. The big money comes after you understand the rules and you can follow the rules. The rules are required because they keep you in the game long enough to gain the experience to understand how to make money. Trust me when I tell you, I am pumped up for this right now because I care. I stay up at night trying to figure out what are people missing right now. And I listen to the conversations in Discord. I watch the conversations on the coaching calls and I pay attention to what is being said. But I also know, having been a trader myself, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than you are probably typing in there. And you're probably frustrated out of your mind because there was easy money on the table. You're now angry you didn't make bigger money. Let's admit it. Excuse me. All angry you didn't make more money. And now you're frustrated that the market's tougher. And God forbid, you might actually be over trading, revenge trading, or angry trading right now because you didn't make bigger money. And now you're trying to make it all back when those conditions don't exist anymore. Which brings me to my next point. Okay. I started out as a business owner in 1988, long before I became a trader. Okay. My family had a deli. We had a pizzeria. It was, the whole family business thing back in the day. So I understood before I became a trader that it goes like this. Any business you have There's going to be months where you just pay the bills, and other months where, oh my gosh, where'd all that extra money come from? And then other months where you make just a little bit more, and quarters roll, days roll into weeks, and weeks roll into months, months roll into quarters, and then you judge how you did for the year. But there is no such thing as, I watched a video and your success is like this. It doesn't work that way. And you're on the other side with me. You're in my inner circle right now. We have to talk as friends, which is I need to reset the reality of what it means to take money from Wall Street. You need to put yourself into it. You need to give yourself another 5 minutes of work. This is a part-time business for a lot of people. Some people are doing this full-time like I am, right? How much money how much time, not money, let's throw money out of the equation. These days, because of fractional share trading, you could put $1,000 in an account and trade 5 shares. You could actually still trade. You couldn't do that years ago. You had to probably trade options or probably trade futures back in the day. And you can't even do that in futures anymore because contracts for the S&P are so much more expensive than they were before, even though you could trade micros. So my point is, I had an advantage to becoming a trader in that my mindset was, I need to learn how to do this and acknowledge, like my other businesses, there's going to be great days and there's going to be days I wish I stayed in school and became a CPA. There's definitely those kinds of days as a trader. That's not a question. The only question is whether you can admit that's a part of the process and not something that you are going to miraculously avoid. Trading requires improving your skills, but the rules are there first to keep you in the game long enough while you're managing the downside, getting experience back, and improving both the way that you can look at the market, which means making better decisions because you could make better distinctions. Again, I'm just going to say this one more time. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where you're looking at the same charts, but you're going to see a lot more. You don't need to learn more. You need to use it better. Write that down. And by the way, for those of you that are, very similar to me, where you can go on these binges on YouTube where you're watching 5,000 YouTube videos and you're like, the next video is going to have the answer and the next video is going to have the answer. Before you start to go down 7,000 different paths and keep trying something new, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, are you actually using to the fullest extent what I taught you? And I'm going to say this. I don't have every answer. I want to be clear about that, obviously, right? I got all these books. I went on the same path, and that's only half of my books. Just to give you, to be super clear, we got another big library downstairs in the den. I can't look anybody in the face and say, don't try and learn. That's not the point. The point is, I'm telling you that when I made the biggest strides, it was when I decided to commit to something. You can't keep going off and looking for a different way to do that and expect something to take root. You are digging in, you're pulling up the roots, you're pulling up the roots, you're pulling up the roots, and you have a whole bunch of short-term momentum as opposed to one deep foundation that eventually takes off. Because I'm going to tell you this, and you're probably not going to think this is going to come out of my mouth, but it's going to. When you finally understand what it takes and the decisions you need to make and the amount of time you need to put in, and you commit to it, everything changes in an instant because you've made a decision that it's important that you follow the rules and make a commitment. There's this slow, gradual learning process, but you eventually get to the point where you say to yourself, does this really matter to me? Not is this a hobby? Not is this a cute thing to talk about while I'm at work? Yeah, I understand MACD and all these other Fibonacci. Well, we talked about Fibonacci's last week to people that have no idea what the hell you're talking about while you're at your job or wherever it happens to be. That's dabbling. You are a money manager now. When you commit to a process, when you commit to a mindset, when you commit that I'm going to take the right action because this really matters to me, I'm telling you now, it doesn't gradually change. It takes off because you are now not losing as much because you stopped taking the trades you know you should not take. You stopped blowing your stop loss. You stopped adding to bad trades. And now what's left is a bunch of good decisions. And now the edge is doing the heavy lifting as opposed to you feeling like this is the hardest job in the world when it's not, because now the edge is doing the work instead of you. You just have to not mess it up. I'm telling you, when you make a commitment, the other side goes like this quicker, but there's all that time in between when you're not ready to make that decision yet, when you're not ready to make the commitment. I was as bad as anybody. And I'm about to show you more books, but these are mindset books. I want to be clear about that. Before you get lost on YouTube and keep going down a rabbit hole of maybe it's that, or maybe I need an AI bot, maybe I need this, maybe I need that. Ask yourself, have you fully committed, and are you using what I showed you before you start going off the reservation and looking for the answer on a free YouTube video? Just really ask yourself, do I use the power pyramid? Do I use the game plan process the way it's been built out for me? Am I only taking trades with the right risk based on the quality of the idea? Am I buying stocks at what I believe is always the optimal entry? Or am I chasing stocks? Am I holding trades and adding to them the way I'm supposed to? Before the answer comes back yes on all of that, and you are making money as reliably as the market's allowing us to, and you're picking the right ideas, I want to caution you to stop going out and making your brain mashed potatoes because you are confusing yourself and you haven't made a commitment to a process yet. I'm not telling you whether you have or not. You know if you have or not. Which brings us to the next point. Coaching sessions and game plan sessions. This is very, very important, okay? And I said this on Friday. The game plan sessions are not for me. They're for you. They are for you to put out into the universe how you're looking at ideas and whether or not you are perfectly looking at ideas, or whether or not you're looking to buy a stock that is up 50% in 4 days and you think it's a good trade because it's an inside candle. I got news for you. That's not a good trade. You're looking at the last part of the trade and not whether or not the probability of it following through is still pretty good. The game plan meetings are your moments, again, to jot down, here's how I'm looking at the market. Here's the sector I'm looking at. Here's the industry group. Here's the stock. And here's why I like it. And here's what all that means for how much I want to risk on this trade. It doesn't have to be a book. You don't even have to go through the entire step-by-step template that I give everybody, but you do need to think it out. And Tim is here right now. Tim has been probably doing some of the best work that I've seen on the game plan calls, because he's not writing a book, but he's saying, here's what I see. Here's what I see next. Here's what I see next. And that means I want this many shares. And here's what I plan to do in the trade. When you start to do that with intentionality, you now start to think through, here's what I want to see. And this is the important part. This is the part that is missing for a lot of people. Here's what I want to see. If that happens, I know what I'm going to do. But the part that is missing is, what if that doesn't happen? What if you put the trade on, moves in your favor, maybe adds, and then starts going in the other direction? Do you have a thought process or something in place that says, if this thing starts to do this, if the market starts to do this, if the sector and the Magnificent Seven stocks do exactly the opposite of what I wanted, if earnings don't come in good, if economic data comes in, holy crap, that was not good, which we're going to talk about in a second. Do you have a second set of decisions that you have prepared to protect your capital? Those are different decisions. And again, I'm going to bring this back to driving. I'm on the road. I'm doing 70. The Eagles on. My favorite band is on. I'm whatever. You understand what I'm saying? And nothing's wrong, right? I don't know why I can't think of my favorite Eagles song right now. That just blew my mind. But then all of a sudden it starts raining and stop and go traffic. And there's a car on the side of the road that everybody's slowing down to look at. Are you going to still use the plan that you had when you left your house? Yeah, I left my house. The GPS said I'm going to be there in half an hour. And damn it, I'm going to get there in a half hour. It doesn't work that way. When the conditions change, it's okay to use that second set of decisions. And if you're not sure what those decisions are, ask in Discord. Ask me. Ask Lynn. Ask in the game plans. Take advantage of the resources. This has been set up to mimic my trading floor in New York City. I had on a headset all day for remote people. I was on the trading floor. We have that here. There's members that have been in the community for a long time. There's me, there's Lynn, there's Joe. Ask. If you're not sure, don't try and figure it out on your own. That's the point. The point of the community is we are community. It's not 300 individual people here. Take advantage of the resources in the time frame that you are available to be in there. If you're not day trading, mute the channel. You don't even have to look at it. If you're not sure how to do that, email support if you don't want to see those things popping up all the time. It's okay. Just focus on swing trading, which then kind of brings me to the coaching aspect of what we do. And yes, all of this stream of consciousness is like been going through my mind for like a week because I want to stress to everybody and wake everybody up that it's not the market. It's the actions and the way you're looking at the market and how you're choosing to participate. I'm telling you, and I'm going to prove this to you right now, because we started to work our way through some ideas in the market. And these stocks right now, again, for everybody saying there's nothing to do right now, this is a filtered down list of stocks that meet our criteria for the last 5 days that were up at least 1%. So you can't tell me there was nothing to do. This meets bullish criteria for both the month and for the week. There's opportunity here. Okay? So I'm not saying every stock was going up and you missed every idea. What I am saying is if you are solely looking at everybody complaining about the market going down and reading the headlines on CNBC and like, oh my gosh, we're down 800, we're down 900. You're not paying attention. There are ideas, which means now we got to go up the power pyramid again. Sectors, industry groups, and then individual stocks. And the more of that we have in the idea that is doing the same thing in the time frame we plan to trade, the more you get to that last part, which is allocating capital to your idea. You are building an argument for how much risk you want to take based on the likelihood of that stock going up for bullish traders, which is what most people are. That's the point, okay? I gotta catch my breath here for a second. I was just so excited to have this conversation because I know what everybody's going through. I know what you're thinking. You're like, maybe I need to trade Bitcoin. And like your mind is like going in all these different directions. It's not the market. It's how you're committing to the process to find ideas. And I just want to reiterate something I just said that is really important. All of those decisions in the game plan for if it works perfectly need a companion decision-making process that is step by step, that if it does not do what I want, what do I plan to do? And then you get to the degree of what that looks like. Okay, the stock paused and pulled back on light volume. I'd rather it go up every day, but it didn't, okay? But pausing on light volume, that's a lower end of I need to make a different decision. The Fed announcement, economic data, Apple, Google, Amazon, Tesla, all these big stocks that move the market getting clobbered. That's a 5-alarm fire. That's a different part of the decision-making process. This is not hard. I want to caution you, be like, oh my gosh, he's giving us work. I'm not giving you work. I'm helping you learn to manage money. I'm helping you realize that you need to make the decisions and stop worrying about whether the market's doing you a favor. Because those of you that are getting crushed right now by compounding bad decisions, by averaging down, are not paying attention. The market changed, and you are refusing to admit that the market changed. That's on you. That is not on the market. Even if the market, in the way you're looking at it, is bad for the way you want it, whatever language you want, it's going down and you want to be a buyer. If you decide to not trade until it looks better to you, that's a good decision. Because if the way that you want to trade and the stocks you want to trade, and let's say you only trade tech, and they're going, you decide not to trade for 3 weeks because the tech stocks you like to trade are going down, that's a good decision. That's thinking correctly. That's what we're talking about. Get out of your, like the day trading part of what we do, everybody gets, all that activity in there. That's a type of trading. And everybody's like, oh, I got to trade every day because there's people in the day trading room trading. They're trading for the next 15 minutes. If you're at work, that's not you. The day trading it's my core. It's what I did for years. My firm was a day trading firm that eventually became something else. But day trading is exciting. It looks amazing. It looks like there's always something to do. And quite frankly, most of the time there is, if your software is set up properly to find the good ideas, which we're going to touch on that in a second as well. You need to be paying attention in the time frame that you have available to pay attention to the trade. If you're swing trading and you plan on buying it today and your target is $15 higher, stop watching the 5-minute charts. You are going to talk yourself out of a bigger picture idea because 1 hour went down. That has nothing to do with why you put the trade on. Nothing. All right? Next, I want to talk about the coaching. I want to talk about the coaching sessions. And we've had some newer members reach out recently and say, I don't know what I'm supposed to ask. Okay? First of all, that's a load of malarkey. Okay? Let's just be honest. We're all adults here. Okay? If you reach out to our support team and say, I don't know what to ask on a coaching session, that's BS. We're all adults, right? Not only if I didn't help you with that, you still should say, I don't understand X, Y, or Z. Can I get help with that? Whether it's from what you knew before you came into the community, best case scenario, you're asking questions about what I do, which is all the training. Best case scenario, like I don't understand sector rotation or I don't understand optimal entry. Those are the questions, right? But that's not even the case because every email we send out with the coaching reminder gives you a list of 20 things to possibly talk about. Go check the email. I wrote it. So there's a bunch of stuff in there. If you are not feeling good about your trading right now, if you are missing something, if there's a part of it that you're just like, I just don't understand what I'm missing, then you have to go through the steps of the trade and figure out what part of the trade, the scanning, is it a good entry now? Am I putting the trade together? Am I managing the trade properly? Those are the steps. What part of those steps are you in need of a little bit more help? For me, it hurts when I see 300 people available to ask a question and we have 3 people asking a question. There's a lot of people trying to figure it out on their own. Stop doing that. I want to help you. I can't say it any other way, but you have to tell me how. You have to tell me what I can help you with. And the problem that a lot of people have is you are trying to learn everything at the same time when there are steps. Am I finding good ideas? Yes or no? No. Well, then you got to ask questions about scanning. You got to ask questions about how to use the list that I'm giving you every night. Great. You think you found a good idea. Is it at the optimal entry? Yes or no? I posted 2 ideas the other day from John. Again, I don't know if John's in the call right now. Neither one of them were good ideas, but he took the trade. Those are the things that we need to, maybe I'm not picking good trades. Maybe I'm not getting good entries. And you have to then think, is that the part I need to ask a question about? I promised I'm going to give you custom help, but you have to tell me what you need in order to do that. You don't have to write a 500-word essay. Just really think about what part of trading you would like help with. What part of the process, finding ideas, entering ideas, or managing ideas, start there. And then the last part is what I kind of want to segue into right now. I'm going to kind of go off on that. So just think about that with the coaching. All of that is great, but now we get to step number 4, which is how you think, right? So we're going to start out with probably, the one part that you need no matter what, okay? And I know some people look, I'm not telling anybody how to think. I want to be clear about this. But, all right, some of you are negative Nancy's and you tend to have a negative outlook and you tend to see the worst. And that's just the way you are, right? In trading, managing the downside, that's good, okay? But here's the big but, all right? You're going to get knocked around, whether it's in life, whether it's in relationships, but especially in the markets, you are going to get knocked around. And the difference between somebody who will eventually get to the other side and somebody who says trading doesn't work, right? The difference is your attitude. The difference is how you're handling the adversity. When you get knocked down, do you get back up, or do you look for the first person or thing to complain to? That says a lot about how open you are to actually learning and improving. If your first reaction is it's somebody else's fault, it's the market's fault, it's the system's fault, it's my computer's not fast enough, whatever it is, if you put that responsibility on anybody but yourself, you are not going to have success, because you are basically saying something outside of me is going to be the reason for this result. So one of the first books is this one. All right. Now, you might see the subject line, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by W. Clement Stone, and think it's hokey, right? You might think that it's like, who needs that, right? Let me tell you something. How you see the world matters, especially when every single day in the market can feel like a punch in the face from George Foreman if you're not in the groove with the market, okay? So don't discount this $5. Success through a positive mental attitude. Everything starts with how you view everything. And I'm going to really sell this in a big way. I'm going to introduce you to, which I know I've done in the past, probably the most valuable book that I have my entire bookshelf. So that's the first one, okay? That's not the one I'm talking about, but that's an important one, all right? The next one is kind of a must-have book that everybody should own. If you don't, what are you waiting for? And it's this one. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is widely considered the granddaddy of, personal, the one that really made a big difference, that became like the personal development industry, which was taken over by Anthony Robbins and all that kind of stuff. There's backstory on Napoleon Hill and Andrew Carnegie and whether or not everything is 100% true about the story of how he came to be. But the book itself, the actual lessons in the book, are life-changing, in that when you truly understand that the reason you take action is because you've chosen a goal that is so inspiring to you that it doesn't matter the roadblocks, because the goal is pulling you through to the other side. That's literally the second chapter of the book, which is called Desire. And he actually says it a little bit stronger, a burning desire. If you are not taking the action, the purposeful action towards what you opened a trading account for and why you're here in my community, if you are not taking the purposeful action, you have a weak goal. You have a weak desire. It is not big enough. It is not inspiring enough. And it has not gotten you to the point where you said, you know what? I want this so bad. I am not going to make excuses anymore. I am going to take the right action because it matters to me. Burning desire will pull you through the adversity that you might be focusing on right now, instead of thinking that this is a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. Again, getting back to W. Clement Stone, if you did not happen to hear the quote that he said, everybody knows what it means to be paranoid, right? W. Clement Stone is very famous for saying that he's an inverse paranoid. And he created his, at that time, $400 million fortune by opening an insurance company. He said that life was conspiring to help him. Let that sink in for a second. Life is conspiring to help me. So let's talk about trading. If you go through the process where every single thing that happens to you as a trader is now viewed from the lens that the market is conspiring to make me a better trader, you are now going to see every result you get as feedback to improve. Let that sink in. So that means the next thing, which we've had a lot of questions about, keeping a trading journal. Are you doing it? Are you documenting your journey so that you are building standard procedures for how you make money? standard procedures for what absolutely doesn't work, standard mindset tricks for how to handle great days, how to handle tough days, how to handle big winning trades, how to handle losing trades. Are you building a framework that immediately gets you back to where you need to be? Think and Grow Rich is a handbook for desire, a handbook for being a part of a mastermind, which we are. There's a whole chapter in there as well. But to me, the most important chapter, the two chapters, desire is very important, but not probably, 100% is the chapter on persistence. There, and to give you an idea how this is like my highlights, like I was highlighted like literally almost every single page in this particular chapter, because the biggest part of Think and Grow Rich that made a big difference for me is you read about all of these famous people, and it's very easy to see them at the stage that they're at when whatever they accomplish to become successful or famous, which today is they're kind of like you could be famous but not necessarily have accomplished anything. Thank the internet, right? But the part that mattered to me the most or hit me the hardest, number one, was is my desire strong enough that it's pulling me through any adversity? And then the second part is how do you actually do that, which is understanding persistence. Persistence, ultimately, reading this book and then really going deeper into success, is you start to learn that all these famous people, all these massively successful people had the same problems you did, had the same challenges you did. Again, go back to reading Market Wizards. Every single one of those interviews starts out with how much money they lost. And then eventually got to the point where they said, that doesn't work. And then they started making rules and following them. Persistence, in a nutshell, is every adversity contains the seed of a greater benefit. And again, that is a direct quote in Think and Grow Rich. There's not even a question. Every adversity contains the seed of a greater benefit if you choose to see it that way. You got knocked down the last 2 weeks? So did everybody else. Okay? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to whine? Are you going to complain? Or are you going to spend all that time on YouTube? Or are you going to say, you know what? What did I miss? What did I not see this week that could have either been profitable for me or could have helped me lose less? What did I miss? You know what? You paid for the loss because you didn't see it. You didn't act differently. You didn't ask a better question. You paid for it. You paid the market for it. Are you going to use what you paid for? That's what's inside of you. Not me. That's what's inside of you. What is inside of you right now? Are you going to stand up and say, you know what? I'm tired of blaming everybody else. Yeah, the market's been hard for the last couple of weeks. But you know what? I could point to 30 stocks that went up this week. A couple of them that absolutely exploded to the upside in real estate and specifically real estate, healthcare, and utilities. Oh my gosh, utilities have changed with AI. A year ago, they weren't even in our list. The strongest sector for the last couple of months, utilities. How many utility stocks have you traded, either on the day trade or the swing trade side of things? So I'm going to kind of tie this up, which is actually a quote that I kind of had in here from the book, where the whole book is basically built around something called definiteness of purpose. Whether it's Think and Grow Rich or this book, which is The Master Key to Riches, there's literally an entire chapter in this second book, definiteness of purpose. So the definiteness of purpose, to bring that whole thing kind of getting back to desire and all those kinds of things. And this is the quote that I have written down in the back of the book. The knowledge of what one wants and a burning desire to possess it. So when you are talking about the stock market right now and your pursuit of retiring early, retiring comfortably, paying your mortgage, whatever that happens to be, the knowledge of what one wants and a burning desire to possess it. So what do you want right now? What do you want from the market? What part of your life do you want the market to change? Pay your credit card bill every month. Great. Pay your health care. Great. Pick a goal. Pick some place you want to go. You want to retire. You want to manage your 401k. Great. The bigger that desire, you have to ask yourself, what effort do I need to put into achieving that desire? Most people have weak goals. Most people have weak, vague desires. It's not the system. It's not whether or not you can accomplish it. It's the commitment you make to how bad you actually want something. And the way that I bring this back to everybody, to trading in a really big way, is people ask me all the time, how do you have so much discipline? Why do you just get out where you're supposed to? And I'm like, because holding loses, it doesn't work. And eventually I got to a point where I was like, okay, so let me get this straight. If I would have just took a loss on all those big trades that I lost money on this month, I'm talking about 15, 20 years ago. If I would have just got out of those trades where I said I was going to, I would have made X amount this month, taking the same exact trades that I took, just making a decision to get out of the ones that didn't work and not taking the ones that were crappy. So let me say, add, +5 and carry the 7. Oh, great. I would have made $10,000 this month instead of losing 7 simply by taking my losses where I was supposed to. Hey, you know what, Pete? Maybe we should just make a commitment to taking losses, because I know how to make money when it's obvious. That's not the problem. And that's not the problem for you either. You know how to make money when it's obvious. That's not the problem. The problem is paying the business expense when it's there, to not see your account go way down into the red on trades that were unforced errors. You make a commitment like that because your desire to make this a big part of your life outweighs your ego to say, that inside candle should have went up and it didn't. I'm holding this damn thing because that was the setup. Yeah, it sounds funny, but that's what a lot of people do. When you make a commitment to the goal, when you make a commitment to that desire, you instantly start to take the right action, because you are also at the same time admitting what definitely does not work. And when you can get to the point by admitting what definitely does not work, and you stop doing it because the goal matters, you will instantly start to get closer to profitability and bigger numbers, because now you are doing a lot less unforced errors because it matters, and you are admitting what works and you're admitting what doesn't work. It's that important. All right. So I want to get to the most important book that I own, and it's not in print anymore. You can probably get it you can definitely get it on Amazon. There's not a question about that. I bought this book in 1995, 1990, maybe 1994. The first time I read it, I was like, okay, seems pretty deep. And then I started reading it again and again and again. And it completely changed my life on kind of getting back to what W. Clement Stone said about being an inverse paranoid. And when you are open to the possibility, you start to see everything in life being sent to you for a greater purpose. This is not religion, so stop. I'm not talking about religion. I would never do that, right? We all have different faiths and whatever. This is more about being above the raging river of thought and seeing life from a higher perspective. I did it this morning. I was up for an hour this morning. I woke up and I was like, my mind is just like racing 1,000,000 miles an hour. Think about that while you're trading, and your mind going in 1,000 different directions. You kind of tie it back into life. This book taught me how to elevate my thinking above the raging river of thought and think at a higher level. Okay. That's a pretty big buildup, isn't it? You could probably pick it up for like $5 on Amazon. And this is the book. Okay. The author's name is Ken Roberts, and A Rich Man's Secret is the name of the book. Read it once. Read it twice. Read it 3 times. There's actually a letter in the back of the book. It's on page 185 or something along those lines. It starts out, "My dear friend," and I want to read this to you because this has been, I hope that you respect me in the sense that you'll, like, I would never say this kind of stuff if it didn't make a significant impact on my life. And I want to read you just the first couple of sentences to really bring home why this is one of the most important books to me and has made the biggest difference for me. It says, "My dear friend, I call you dear friend because we are of the same caste," which we are, all right? "If face to face, we would sense this special kinship between us. You are unique, for you took the most unusual steps in an attempt to find what you hold here. Not knowing what you would discover, if anything at all, you journeyed into the unknown, right? No one told you to make this journey. You made it of your own accord, listening to the still small voice within. And that's a lot of what this book is about, is we all have this part of us that we know is giving us the right answers, but we're not listening because we're drowned out by all of that noise. And we start to rise above that noise and we think differently. We think from a higher perspective. All right. What you seek here, the elusive secret men and women through the ages long to discover. It is the secret your heart yearns for. It is a secret your mind cannot grasp. I know nothing about you or your particular circumstances, whether you're young, old, male, female, married or single, religious or not. I do know, however, that you are in search of a better life. I do know, however, because I have known the same personal dissatisfaction and internal conflict you now know. I'm just giving you the first two paragraphs. A Rich Man's Secret by Ken Roberts. The book is probably 200 pages. That letter that I just read to you is roughly, 3 pages in the book, somewhere along those lines. If you want to experience something different and you're dissatisfied with your life, you're dissatisfied with your trading, and you're just not sure what the next right step is, everybody here knows me, right? I'm like obsessed about, quality of life and improving. And this book, it has nothing really to do with money. Let's be clear about that. Although I did this, Ken Roberts was how I started to become trader in 1994. He actually had a commodity trading course back in the day. So ironically, I learned commodities from him, but this was actually a book that he wrote. Anyway, that's how important it is. I hope that I hope that sparked your curiosity. All right. So the other book is one that became a really big part of our community last year. This book came out, I don't know, probably about a year ago, maybe a little bit. I'll read you the subhead, and then why normal thinking never wins the trading game. Okay. So this is the book. Tom Hogard is the author. Best Loser Wins. I would say virtually 100% of the people in the community that bought this book, which $20, $30 or whatever it is on Amazon, 100% of the people that bought this book, 100% of people said that was amazing and I needed to hear that. And he basically talked about, I'm paraphrasing here, you can get into the book yourself. You could probably even YouTube it if you want to take, instead of buying the book, but I'd recommend buying the book because you want to have it in your library. He essentially talks about how people who are losing money think about trading and think about the market. And then he flips that on its head, kind of getting back to what I said about making a big list of what doesn't work. He kind of said, this kind of thinking definitely does not work. And then he walks through the kind of thinking that massively successful, massively consistent traders do think through. So if you did not happen to pick this up last year or never heard about it, Best Loser Wins is the name of the book. And Tom Hogard is the author of the book. So that's kind of what I've been obsessing about as the market has pulled back a little bit over the last week or so, actually last couple of weeks. Both watching coaching calls, both watching game plans, and especially watching language and conversations in Discord. I've been through it. I'm going through it with you. I understand what's going through your head. And athletes sometimes say, I don't want to be a role model. Like it's not their responsibility. I want to be a role model. I want to be the person that you lean on. I want to tell you I've gone through that and it's going to be okay. I got you back. But you need to participate. You need to level up your thinking. Whatever that desire is for you, whatever that goal is, make it exciting. But then ask yourself, how much of a commitment do I need to get there? You want to pay your credit card bill? Great. You could spend 10 minutes a week and make one good trade and pay your credit card bill. Let's go to the other extreme. you want to manage your own 401k, or maybe you left a job and now your money is, in an IRA now because they rolled it over from the 401k, and now you're in charge of it, and you're scared and you need to know what to do. That's a good, bigger goal. That's a life-changing goal. That's a goal that matters because now you're in charge. What kind of commitment do you need to make that goal happen? And then let's start to have conversations about that. My mission is to use my experience to make things easier for you. My mission, my goal, the whole point of all of this is we're on the same path. I'm just a little further down the road from you. I want to help you get through the stages that you're going through right now so you can get to the point where maybe you can pay it back. Maybe you can get to the point where you're like, you know what, I had that same question 3 months ago, and might not be the perfect answer, but let me tell you how I got through it. That's what our community is about. That's the whole point of why we're here. When I can tell you I've been there, I didn't read it in a book. I went through it. I'm going through it. I'm still experiencing it, but I'm seeing things differently than you probably are right now. And that's the mission for our community. Some people just started. Some people have been trading for years. I saw somebody ask yesterday, why are you still here if you learned what to do? Are you crazy? The market conditions are changing every day, every week. It's not there's the map and it never changes. There's different market conditions. There's different psychological things we all have to go through in those different market conditions. That's why we have people in our community for 5 years, because there's constantly something new to learn, something new to discover, better ways of doing it and leveling up. There's a higher level for everybody. So I implore you as people in my inner circle, men and women who I care deeply about, use me, use the resources, game plans, coaching calls, Discord, the courses, everything, and ask yourself what part of becoming a successful trader is the part that you need to learn right now, and we'll go through that process together. You just need to take a notebook and say, what part am I really not understanding? And make that the one thing you need to learn now. And then when you get better at that, then we'll answer a second question that you don't even know exists yet. And that's what we're here for. All right. So we're going to call it a meeting. We can get into the markets and all that kind of stuff. We'll send out a newsletter. We'll send out all the word and everything like that. But I thought that today was more important to discuss this than it was to talk about the charts. That's a big thing. I thought that this was really much, much more important than what happened last week, what might happen next week, which stocks are reporting earnings. I think that just really thinking through, why the heck am I trading? And what's pulling me through? Like what is making me, what putting me here? And what kind of commitment do I want to make to my own success? And use that as the starting point for how we can help each other. That's why I wanted to talk about this today. Obviously, I got all jazzed up because it matters to me. And it mattered that I started talking about it today instead of talking about the charts, because quite frankly, that would have been the easy way out for me to do this Saturday session that we have every weekend. It would have been an injustice if I would have just spent today talking about the charts and economic data and sector rotation. But instead, I wanted to talk about what I know everybody's thinking about right now, which is what we tackled today. And I think that'll make a much bigger difference in everybody's life, because we talked about mindset and making a commitment to a bigger goal, making a commitment to something that's exciting to you, and then leave you the rest of the weekend to watch this replay and think about it deeper. So actually, Chris put something in here that I think, Chris, thank you. By the way, Chris, I owe you a phone call. We haven't spoken in so long. I know you're busy with your other stuff. Chris says, I've been around here for years. It takes years to be around for all the different market conditions, without a doubt. And it takes time to learn and apply everything. I couldn't have said it better, Chris. It's not like you just, could you imagine a doctor? Let's just compare it this way. Could you imagine a doctor saying, yes, I went to medical school and I was an intern in 1985, and now I'm done. Nothing new for me to learn. That's it. I'm done. Really? That the guy you want helping you? No, man or woman? No. There's a higher level for everybody, and we need to make a commitment to each other. I am here for you. I'm just asking you to tell me how I can help you. All right? So we're going to call it a meeting. The replay is available to everybody. We will give everybody the transcript and everything like that. Have an awesome, absolutely amazing weekend. I hope that I gave you something different to think about today. And let's move forward together as a community in a way that we are here for each other. And this is our inner circle, our mastermind. And no matter what happens, we're here for each other. That's what matters. And that's the mission of what we do. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you on Monday. If you need anything, absolutely reach out. Okay. Have a great day.